Hey y'all, so I wanted to share some more of my Lent learnings. So on Friday, I had a prayer session scheduled. My therapist, one of her offerings is there's a prayer team that's available to pray with you. And like most intercessory prayer ministries, at least most that I've experienced or have been a part of, they pray as the Holy Spirit leads. And so for me, it was definitely a very eye-opening experience to be able to see myself like outside of myself. And my biggest takeaway was there is a form of judgment that we don't talk about a lot that many of us are guilty of, especially me. And God spoke it to me clear as day yesterday that we cannot use ourselves as the measuring stick by which we look at people. So one thing I know I have to work on is that I am guilty of that as it concerns some of the relationships and some of the issues that I have problems with other people. And I want to explain this a little bit more. We see this particular phenomenon in two different ways. So let me back up. Actually, we see judgment in two different ways. First, we see judgment in the form of what I call Bible thumping, which is people using the Bible to criticize and judge other people, and specifically non-believers. Then the other form is the form I'm talking about that is much more subtle. We judge others based on ourselves, based on where we are at that present moment in time. When I was a new early believer, I was very, very, very legalistic and very religious in the sense that I can look back at some of my Facebook posts and it was just, I thank God for maturing me and allowing me to be myself as a believer. But I also thank God for the growth. And what it looked like would be, I'd be critical of other people and how they dress and things like that, or what I thought a woman of God looked like, when the truth was, for me, that was a manifestation of the religious spirit because of the churches I had attended up to that point. And what it looks like is oftentimes believers like that turn people away from the church because they are truly lacking self-awareness. And I can say that now is that I lacked self-awareness at that point. Where I am now and confronting judgment in my life, and I'll explain how this all ties into control. I have the self-awareness to recognize the generational traumas that have impacted both sides of my family. I have the self-awareness, and I also have the discernment and wisdom to see other people who may have hurt me and how their life experiences brought them to that point. What I was lacking is grace. I lacked the ability to give them grace because, and I'm honest enough to say this, that I felt like people were not taking accountability, but they couldn't take accountability. There was no way for them, and there still is no way for them to take accountability because they don't have that self-awareness. They don't have that revelation of self. And I have to thank God for continuing to teach me to pray, to see myself, like both as he sees me, like who I should be becoming, but also as where I am right now and how I have a need for him. And it's just in me like praying over the last 2 days since that prayer session that, I've come to accept that prayer and that revelation and pray about it, because the outcome of this is I need to go back and read my own book on forgiveness so I can forgive those people. But also that this is an area of which I need to let go of control. Like, I wasn't trying to control those people, or in the sense of like me telling them what to do or me trying to force my beliefs on them. I was controlling how God was operating through me in regards to extending them grace. And if I'm honest, and I don't even want to admit this, but me extending them the love of God, because, you know, the very people that I have issues with, like, they are in need of God's grace and God's love, just like I was, and just like I still am. And so I really want to encourage all of us as believers, and then for you people who may not believe in God, I want to tell you that every person who is a believer or calls himself a believer, they're in need of grace, they're in need of love, and they also may be in need of self-awareness. And self-awareness, as it's revealed through the Holy Spirit, will show us ourselves in a loving way. And that was something else that God dropped in my spirit earlier. The first time I tried to record this is that the difference between biblical judgment and correction, and that which is rooted in the religious spirit and which is rooted in hatred, to be honest, rooted in wanting to cast judgment on other people, is love. Every place that I received true correction and true revelation from God about something I was dealing with, it was done from a place of love. And not to say that those other people that have been very critical and have done and said hurtful things weren't operating in the Holy Spirit, but it was their flesh, their soulish self, rather, that would not allow the love of God to come through that. I can look back at situations where people talked about me and people were critical of me. And like, for example, I used to go out all the time because I enjoyed dancing. I used to enjoy being out with my friends. That was my fun. I don't do that as much now. One, because of COVID, but two, I just don't really have the same energy to do it or desire to do it anymore. But that's because God changed me to not desire that thing so much. And I get that same fix of enjoy of being around people now by doing DIY classes, going to wine tastings, doing things like that. So I'm still having that same type of fun. It's just I've matured, I've grown up. But that's what journeying and walking with God is like. It's a transformation, a transformative process, and everybody's journey is different. And so my main takeaways are, one, I have to read my own book on forgiveness so that I can forgive these people and revisit those things once and for all. So that way, this form of the religious spirit is really what it is, can be uprooted from my life. But two, so that way, the things that God has called me to do that I have yet to do, that I've hesitated on doing, I can actually walk in those things fully and really truly be used by God. Because at the end of the day, what we refuse to heal is an opportunity for the enemy to use to hurt somebody else. Anything that you haven't healed yet can be used as a weapon against someone else. And I don't want the bitterness and the hurt and the anger that I still have towards certain people to be redirected on somebody else. So the main thing I want to share with you is that don't let where you are in your walk become the measuring stick for how you judge someone else. And just because somebody hasn't received the same revelation of God that you have doesn't mean that they don't believe in God or they don't have a relationship with God. At the end of the day, my encouragement would be for you to pray for them, because at the end of the day, as long as we're praying, and we're praying from a truly wholehearted, holy place, and not so much praying from a critical place, because a lot of us do that too. But as long as you're praying with a pure heart about the situation, your motives are pure, God will answer that prayer. I've seen it so much in my life. I'm a living testimony to that in many ways, more ways than one. And so don't let your current experience, your current place in life be the measuring stick for how you see others, because that will cause you to miss out on an opportunity to be used by God in that relationship. God still has to deal with me about this, and he's been dealing with me all weekend about it. But I can honestly say that I'm grateful, because as I continue on this journey of releasing control, I have to trust that I have to trust God. And that doesn't mean just trusting God with my finances, my health. I have to trust God with everything. And that also includes like how he chooses to deal with the people that hurt me or the people that have done hurtful things to me. And I also have to trust that God is capable of doing the things that I've been trying to do myself way better than I am. And God can give me the revelation and give me wisdom and insights on how to deal with those situations way better than I could. So that's all I have for y'all on this Good Sunday. Talk to you soon. Bye.